Good evening, everybody. My name is Gage. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for showing up and signing on. If this is your first time, thank you for being here. My channel is mostly about true crime and the analyzing of true crime. So if you haven't been here before, you might check out some of my library. Check out some of the things that I talk about as far as true crime is concerned and the value of information and what true crime entails, which is what I'm going to talk about tonight. I got on here for a couple minutes to discuss basically how criminal acts are committed, how they're investigated, and the step that it takes in order to gain a conviction. You know, when crimes are committed, a lot of times they are not cut and dry like people think. They're not as easily solved as people think. 50% of most murders in the US go unsolved. And there's a reason for this. Would you say it's, excuse me, lack of manpower? Would you say it's public interest? Would you say it's the simple fact that the police have more than they can handle? That is a question I have for you. Because many times, whenever you're looking for a perpetrator, it's not so cut and dry. The evidence that you might be seeking goes deeper than the surface. Good evening. Thank you for being here, Rondi. You know, I could be talking about past cases, but I really don't want to. I don't want to talk about past cases. I could be talking about deviancy, which is a great topic, obviously. It's a great topic because deviant behavior stretches in all areas of humanity. Have you ever wondered what actually a deviant is or a deviant behavior is? I'm about to tell you. Deviant behavior is behavior that violates social norms and can trigger negative social reactions. It can be categorized into two forms, formal and informal deviance. Let's talk about formal deviance for a little bit here. This formal deviance is also known as crime. This type of behavior violates laws that are formally enacted by society. Examples include theft, murder, and assault. Informal deviance. This type of behavior is a minor violation of unwritten social rules, such as picking one's nose, belching loudly, or standing too close to others. So there's two different types of deviancy here. The formal deviancy obviously has to do with the violation of other people. You know, thank you very much. when it has, when you're looking at formal deviancy, it is disgusting. Um, the aspects that violate people's rights. Obviously, murder, assault, and theft. So, when we're looking for somebody who is a deviant or a social deviant, it varies across cultures. While generally viewed as negative, it can also have positive aspects, such as leading to social change, helping people adjust to change, or raising awareness about issues. For example, a behavior that was once considered deviant may eventually be viewed as acceptable, or deviant behavior can help people raise awareness about issues like sex, child trafficking. So that's interesting to know that, not only can it be viewed as something that was once viewed as not looked into a good light, but eventually it can turn into awareness. So, once again, deviant behavior is actions or behaviors that go against social norms or expectations. Social norms are unwritten rules that a society or culture deems as acceptable. Any behavior that violates social norms or formal laws is considered deviant. So we ask ourselves, how does this have anything to do with true crime? Well, it has a lot to do with true crime. Because whenever you have a person who's going against social norms, that person, a lot of times, is breaking the law or harming other people. Someone who constantly goes against the grain or does things their own way, they're more apt to be breaking the law than somebody who is striving for social change. I hope that makes sense because, you know, um, whenever it's taught in the sociological concept, deviancy is not a very it's not a very popular word amongst people, but it's on the realm of education. So let's take Jeffrey Dahmer as an example because he was a past social deviant. Okay, and let's look into his deviancy because it is interesting to dive into understanding past crimes. It says, how Jeffrey Dahmer deviant? The killer was a sexual deviant, but not insane. Dahmer's success in avoiding detection for so long, his destruction of evidence, and his use of condoms when having sex with corpses all pointed to an ability to control his actions and to ultimate sanity. So, he was a sexual deviant, total different than what we're talking about here. So, he was not insane. Because many times when people look into Jeffrey Dahmer, they think, how would somebody be able to exhibit necrophilia and not be a little mentally impaired? But what I can tell you is this is the sexual deviancy tells a lot as far as the deviancy. And I'm going to read a little bit to you about what this says about Mr. Dahmer. It says murder willingly talking or taking another's life is considered a heinous crime in the U.S. And from the sociological perspective, breaks in important more serial murder, therefore, is a sociologically deviant phenomenon where a person kills two or more people in a distinct events. And an FBI overviews of serial killers states no single cause, trait, or even a group of traits can differentiate or identify serial killers from other types of violent offenders. We can, however, use sociological perspectives to identify potential factors in the cases. As a boy, Jeffrey Dahmer was described as being a loner and a poor student and had been sexually abused by a neighbor. He is a homosexual, and all the victims were males. This isn't to say that Dahmer wasn't responsible for his crimes. A jury of his peers determined he wasn't legally insane at the time of the murders, but society made Dahmer. Next, this paper will use the strain theory to analyze Dahmer and his cases. The strain theory is a functionalist theory which argues that deviance, even criminal deviance, is a result of society and its cultural goals. Those who feel strain in the regard of cultural ideals, whether they lack the opportunity or they reject them altogether, fall into deviance. So that is saying that the strain theory, if the social theory of life in your favor causes any kind of strain in your life based on cultural deals or whether you feel like you lack the opportunity or reject them altogether, there's a good chance you could fall into deviance. So this is the path that Dahmer took, rejecting cultural goals and the means to achieve them, retreating from society, often into alcohol or drugs. It's a valid assumption to believe that this retreat from society led him along the path to murder. As a child, Dahmer faced numerous obstacles to success. He was a poor student who struggled socially and turned to alcohol early in high school. All these factors culminated as a young man who had given up on many cultural goals at the time. He wasn't attracted to women, so had a family of his own without. He had no real ambition to contribute to work and unable to get desirable individuals and to focus on his education. So think about that. Since we're talking about cultural norms, some of the cultural norms that we have in life are, as they say, getting a family, getting an education, getting a good paying job, um, fitting into what the culture identifies as being quote unquote normal. And the way they're saying he's not insane is the fact that he was able to pass a psychological exam that showed that he was more shaped by deviancy, but he was capable or culpable of understanding right and wrong. So when somebody's insane, they don't have the culpability to understand right and wrong. So let's hear some more about the deviant behaviors of Mr. Dahmer. And this is exactly what I was just saying right now. Okay. It said the person should be considered to be a deviant if they're violating what our social norm is in our culture. Where some of our social norms are we shouldn't kill people, we shouldn't hurt people, we shouldn't randomly stalk people, we shouldn't do these things. These are social norms. What causes humans to act certain ways is a disputed topic among researchers. excuse me, for a long time now. There are three types of researchers that have tried to answer this question. There is a psychological answer, a biological answer, and a sociological answer. With all the studies that have been done, no one group has come up with an exact reason to why people behave deviantly. Although sociologists' theories have not been disproved as much as the psychologists and biologists' theories because the experts and experiments are too hard to define and no one definition for deviance is agreed on. So Jeffrey Dahmer was born May 21st, 1960 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. When he was young, he cut off the heads of animals. Dahmer was imprisoned for killing, mutilating, and occasionally eating them. He was fascinated with dead animals and practicing taxidermy on roadkill. He had killed animals on stakes in the backyard for fun. Neighbors were disgusted but never reported him. As an adolescent, he had fantasies of killing and mutilating men also. His first murder was in Bath Township, Ohio in 1978. A second murder followed in 1987. He killed another 15 young men, most of them in Milwaukee, over the next 5 years. Dahmer's gruesome crimes involved cannibalism and necrophilia. Some say Dahmer escaped detection for so long because police attached a low priority to investigating the disappearances of homosexual or racially minority victims. In the morning of May 27, 1991, three police officers were called to a rundown suburb in Milwaukee by a 911 call from a couple of black teenage girls who had come across a young Asian boy who was running around naked and rambling incoherently. So that gives you a little bit of an outline of Mr. Dahmer. So think about that, what I just read. You know, he started as a young child cutting off the heads of small animals and then eating them. And he progressed to young men. He had fantasies of killing young men. So think about that a minute when we're talking about deviancy. When you hear of individuals that are talking so openly about this kind of behavior, or, they have certain fascinations with it, you should pay attention. You should really pay attention because you just never know if you're dealing with a potential deviant. Dahmer in court, his lawyer Bull threw the question out to the jury. Was he evil or was he sick? It's very possible that they would have agreed with Boyle insanity defense. So the other lawyer took turn to present his case. Dahmer, he told them, was a master manipulator and deceiver who knew exactly what he was doing every step of the way, able to turn his urges on and off as easily as flipping a light switch. Did he attack other soldiers while he was in the Army? Other students while at Ohio State University? The deaths, he said, were not the act of a madman, but the result of a meticulous planning. So think about that as well. When we're talking about true crime and we're talking about cases, we often talk about urges. We often hear about urges and pre contemplation or planning. Well, I thought so too. But this article states that he was in control of his urges. So I really don't know. I mean, he might have been. He might have been in control. But what I'm trying to show is, as far as the behavior part of it, is It starts at a young age a lot of times, it starts at a very young age with behaviors that are extremely out of the norm. As little boys, it's normal to hunt things and to be curious and even to possibly kill an animal. I'm not saying that's out of the norm. Where it's abnormal, I would believe, would be to be beheading and being fascinated with all that goes along with that, and started even to fantasize later on about certain people or genre that you want to elicit your fantasies on. That's when it becomes harmful. Dahmer was very meticulous with what he did. It says two detectives took turns reading the 160-page confession. It was a catalog of sexual perversion. Detective Dennis Murphy stated that Dahmer felt a tremendous amount of guilt because of his actions. He felt thoroughly evil. Then he quoted from Dahmer's own confession. It's hard for me to believe that a human being could have done what I've done, but I know that I did it. He claimed that his fear of being caught was overwhelmed by his excitement of being completely in control. Let me read that part to you again because this is the part that I want you to understand when it comes to dealing with individuals who kill. This part right here says it all. He was overwhelmed by his excitement of being completely in control. He claimed that his fear of being caught was overwhelmed by his excitement of being completely in control. So whenever we think of serial killers or we think of murderers, we often ask ourselves, what makes them do these things? What causes them to do these things? I just read to you out of a confession of a serial killer what his thoughts were. They're all different, of course, but he was overwhelmed with the fear of getting caught, with the urge and excitement of the payoff was greater than the fear of getting caught. So he was able to continue doing what he was doing. And that's some intense stuff right there. And we all know what that feeling's like in different areas of our lives. We've been fearful in a lot of situations, I'm sure. And in the excitement of overcoming that and being completely in control, oftentimes takes us to be successful in areas where the only success that serial killers or murderers feel in control is by killing someone. It says the battle of psychiatrists over whether Dahmer was legally responsible and able to control his actions seemed to confuse the jury. Finally, in his summation, Boyle drew a chart for the jury that took the form of a wheel. The hub of the wheel was Jeffrey Dahmer, and all the smoke coming out of the wheel were the elements of his deviance. He read them out quickly. Skulls and locker, cannibalism, sexual urges, drilling, making zombies, necrophilia, drinking alcohol all the time, trying to create a shrine, lobotomies, defleshing, calling taxidermists, going to graveyards, masturbating. This is Jeffrey Dahmer, a runaway train on a track of madness. So when you hear all that stuff, his lawyers said he wasn't a runaway train. He was an engineer. He was satisfying his extraordinary sexual cravings. Ladies and gentlemen, he's fooled a lot of people. Please don't let the murderous killer fool you. The jury deliberated for 5 hours and decided that Jeff Dahmer did not deserve to spend the rest of his life in a hospital, but in a prison cell. On all 15 counts, Dahmer was found guilty and sane. So think about that a minute, guys. Many times we get fixated on the ins and outs of these individuals. Could they have really done this? Could they have really done that? Could they be capable? Culpable is the word because everyone is capable. Culpable means that is there enough evidence to find probable cause in what they do? So can whenever you think about these situations, these cases that you hear about, and people they focus on these killers. Listen to how they romanticize their lives. It's like no one wants to believe that people are capable of doing such deviant acts. I just read to you the spokes of the wheel of Mr. Dahmer. If he was the middle and all those other spokes were leading off from him, that's what he did in the commission of his criminal acts. So I ask you this question. Whenever you hear other cases being presented here on YouTube or you read about them or you read books on them, do you put the pieces together as you see them or as you believe them to be? Because if you're putting the pieces together as you see them in black and white, then it's going to be a lot clearer for you to understand rather than your belief in what you see. Because what I just read to you, those spokes off that wheel, we could all make arguments for what caused Mr. Dahmer to be that way. We heard about his young life, how he grew up, all that. That would definitely be an avenue for him to turn that way. But does it make it right? Does it make it okay for those 15 people he killed needlessly? That he had such a tough life that he couldn't overcome and he became a sexual deviant and a serial killer? Talk to me, chat. What do y'all think? Do you think that the way you live, the things you've done, excuse your circumstances in life that you create that are not honorable? I'm asking you guys. Because he was sane. He was found sane. So we couldn't say he was crazy. Couldn't say he had mental issues. Even though we'd like to argue that. We can't we can't really say that though. Is this thing on? Is there anybody in chat? Exactly. But I would say that regarding him, Mr. Dahmer, I would say that he was created based on his urges that maybe he didn't even understand. Because they say psychopaths are born, not created. And it's interesting to me to think that somebody could be born a serial killer and not even realize it, but based on their behaviors and their fantasies, turn out to be one. Exactly. I like what you are saying. It's a physiological question, nature versus nurture, of course. Uh, Yeah, Chanel says, yes, socioeconomic has an impact on crime. When a nation has a lot of poverty, the crime rate will always go up. Domestic violence is more common, so more trauma. Very true. He knew it was wrong, but he had to do it anyways, of course. Just like I was talking in my last video as far as urges. And I hated to cut it off because it was getting really good, but I had things I needed to do. But as I was saying in my video, have you ever had the urge? I'm talking about an urge that just will not go away. I'm not talking about a fleeting urge. I'm talking about something that is so pressing that it's emotionally and physically crippling. Where if you don't do what it is that your urge wants you to do, it is almost paralyzing to you to live a normal life. And if you've ever had anything like that, then you understand that you must take that object, yes, that object that is causing that urge, you must take it out of your path. Because if you can't have it, you must destroy it. And a lot of serial killers talk about these urges, talk about these needing to be in control. Because whenever you're out of control, you're in a madness. You're in a state of madness. There's no reality. It's all mania. And the only way that you can regain a sense of stability is to either conquer or destroy. And think about that. Yes, very good. And think about that in a lot of the cases that you've heard where people have been murdered. They've been hunted down a lot of times. Hunted down. Look at all the YouTube videos there are. Look at all the Netflix, Hulu, all of the social media stuff that you read, that you watch the videos, all of it. It talks about an individual killed this person. They were on a date, blah, blah, blah. Something went wrong. Next thing you know, the person went missing. They were killed, found later on. It's an obsession to annihilate what it is that you feel out of control in your life about. So, Mr. Dahmer had a sexual deviancy. So, the normalcy of his desires was not enough. He, like another killer that I've researched before, the only way that they could feel in control or to be able to be with anybody was to kidnap them, kill them, and then have sex with them. Yes, that's a good case to talk about. Exactly. He was obsessed with her. Obsessed from the age of 13, right? And the object of your affection sometimes becomes dangerous in somebody else's eyes. Like if somebody is fixated on you so much that you're the object of their affection, it's unhealthy. But this is how a killer's mind works. This is how an obsessed person's mind works. And it can go from simple love to if I can't be with you, nobody else can be with you. Because I can't live my life without you. And that sounds silly and cliche-ish, but how many times have people lost their lives due to the individual not being able to move on? I heard something that I theorized very early on in the Idaho 4 case. I heard something the other day where they were relating the murders to an object of affection. And I thought that at the very beginning. I really did. And I'm not just saying that. I'm thinking about it. I was thinking about it due to the addictive process, meaning that you want something so badly that you can't have it, but it plays on you over and over and over and over. And you know that you can never have it. So it's better to eliminate it than to be fixated with it. It's almost like if I can't have it, I can't control it, I'm going to destroy it. And that way, at least I have the memory of killing it. And that is my control. And that is my control over that situation. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's exactly what I thought at the very beginning because of the addiction that this individual had. And many of these individuals have substance abuse addictions that they deal with. Dahmer was alcohol. When you're under the influence and you stop using or you stop drinking, you feel powerless. You feel powerless over life. You feel powerless over your thoughts. And the urge to act out is more powerful than anything you could ever imagine. And I hope this makes sense to you guys a little bit. I just wanted to hop on here and talk a little bit about the obsession and the urges and some of the concepts that go along in a criminal case. Let me know what you think in the comments or hit a like, subscribe if you're not a subscriber, or come join the 12 Gauge members club. We'd love to have you. If not, just keep coming back. I enjoy you guys being in the chat, giving your thoughts, giving your opinions, because it's a good way to have a conversation without arguing. This is an interesting comment. I don't think JD and Kaylee ever got intimate, just my opinion. I think that was part of the rage. It could have been. I mean, that'd be terrible if they dated that long and that never happened. But she could have been holding out for marriage. Who knows? But the reason that I point out things about obsession and urges and control is for you guys to be able to spot it in real life before it gets out of control. Because I know it is frightening. It is frightening to have that type of person in your life. There's a lot of groomers out there. There's a lot of groomers out there that will manipulate you and try to tell you what you want to hear and groom you. And then sometimes it turns evil real fast. I hope you guys stay hyper vigilant out there. And if you're watching this on replay later on, I hope that you enjoy it. I'm just getting warmed back up because I have been off of here for a while, so I'm kind of rusty a little bit. And for some of you new people, if you want to hear my take on the Idaho 4, go into my library under the live tab or the video tab and check it out because I'm not really going to cover the case live until the trial because it's a dead horse for me right now. It's not worth doing. Um, well, that's a nice theory. I mean, we all have our theories. We really do. And in our chat, we agree to disagree. But I know that my subs want me to talk on other things, to talk on true crime in a different variation that most people talk about, and I enjoy doing that because you cannot talk about something over and over and over and over without getting so burnt out on it. Right now, I have a lot of sand in my throat from the beach, and it's causing me irritation. It's irritating me. Um, but I'll be all right. But I hope you guys had fun with me tonight. That you um, enjoyed my presentation. Please let other people know about my channel and let them know about the calmness of the chat. And I hope to see you guys again soon. Y'all have a wonderful night. Be safe out there and take care of yourselves. Maestro, cue that music.